My cheating wife asked for an open marriage, so I served divorce papers and a DNA test on the table. Hey Reddit. I never thought my life would end up like this. I thought I had a good marriage. I thought I had a loving wife. I thought I had a beautiful daughter. But that's the thing about life, you never really know what's lurking beneath the surface until it crashes down on you, leaving you gasping for air, struggling to understand how everything you built could be nothing more than a carefully constructed lie. It all started on a regular Tuesday evening. I had just come home from work, exhausted from back-to-back meetings, ready to unwind with my wife and daughter. I remember stepping into the house, calling out for Lisa, my wife, expecting her usual warm greeting. Instead, I found her sitting at the dining table, sipping a glass of wine, staring off into space like she was lost in thought. Something was off. Lisa was never the type to sit in silence. She always had something to say, whether it was a rant about her day or a funny story about Lily, our 6-year-old daughter. But that night, she barely acknowledged me when I walked in. Just a half-hearted glance, a tight-lipped smile. "Hey, everything okay?" I asked, setting my briefcase down. She hesitated, swirling her wine in the glass like she was gathering the courage to speak. And then she dropped the bombshell that changed everything. "I think we should try an open marriage." At first, I thought I misheard her. I let out a small, awkward laugh, waiting for her to say she was joking. But she didn't. Her expression remained deadly serious. "What?" I asked, my voice suddenly dry. Lisa sighed, setting her glass down. "I've been thinking a lot about this, and I truly believe it could be good for us." "Good for us?" My stomach twisted into a tight knot. My mind immediately started racing, connecting dots I hadn't noticed before. The late nights. The sudden interest in going out more. The way she had been dressing up more than usual. She was already seeing someone. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She flinched. "It's not like that," she said quickly. "I just think we've been stuck in a routine, and opening things up could bring excitement back into our marriage." "Excitement?" I stared at her, trying to process the sheer audacity of what she was saying. I had given this woman everything: love, security, a home. I worked long hours to provide for our family, to give Lily the best life possible. And now she wanted to explore? To experiment? "Who is he?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "It's not just one person." My blood turned to ice. "Not just one." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. "You've already done it, haven't you?" She didn't answer. That was all the confirmation I needed. I pushed back my chair and stood up, feeling rage boil beneath my skin. "I don't know what you expected, Lisa, but I'm not the kind of man who shares his wife." She stood too, crossing her arms defensively. "You're being dramatic. A lot of couples do this, and they're happier for it." I let out a bitter laugh. "Happier? You mean you're happier?" "Because clearly, I don't get a say in this." I didn't wait for her response. I turned and walked upstairs, my mind reeling. I needed answers. I grabbed her laptop. I had never been the type to snoop, but something told me I needed to see the truth with my own eyes. And what I found shattered me. Dozens of messages. Different men. Hotel reservations. Explicit pictures. Conversations about things she wanted to try with them, things she had never even considered with me. It wasn't just some experiment. It wasn't about our marriage. Lisa had been living a double life. I sat there in silence, staring at the screen, feeling my entire world collapse. And then, amidst the storm of betrayal, a horrifying thought entered my mind. Lily. Our daughter. A creeping, nauseating feeling settled in my gut. Was she even mine? I slammed the laptop shut, breathing heavily. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and ordered a DNA test kit. I felt disgusted with myself for even having to do it, but I needed the truth. For the next 2 days, I barely spoke to Lisa. I could tell she was getting impatient, waiting for me to come around, to accept her new vision of our marriage. She had no idea that I had already made my decision. When the DNA results arrived, I sat in my car for an hour before I could open them. My fingers trembled as I unfolded the paper. Not a match. The words blurred before my eyes. Lily wasn't mine. I let out a strangled breath, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I wanted to scream, to punch something, to make sense of the cruel joke my life had become. But instead, I did what I had to do. I went home, printed out divorce papers, and placed them on the dining table. I set the DNA test results next to them. And then I waited. Lisa came home that evening, smiling like nothing had happened. She paused when she saw me sitting there, her eyes flickering to the documents on the table. "What's this?" she asked, her voice wary. "This," I said slowly, Is me being done? She frowned, stepping closer. What are you talking about? I gestured to the papers. You wanted an open marriage, Lisa. Well, here's your wish. You're free to do whatever you want. Just not as my wife. Her face twisted in shock. You're divorcing me? I nodded. And just so you know, I added, gesturing to the second set of papers, Lily isn't mine. Her eyes widened in horror. She snatched the test results off the table, scanning them with shaking hands. No. This isn't right, she whispered. It's right, I said coldly. Just like I was right about you cheating. Tears welled in her eyes. Please, it's not what you think, don't, I snapped, standing up. Don't lie to me. She broke down, sobbing into her hands, begging me not to do this. She swore she still loved me, that we could fix this, that Lily still needed me. And that was the hardest part. Because no matter what, I loved that little girl. She had no part in this. I turned to leave, but Lisa grabbed my arm. Please don't go, she choked out. I pried her fingers off me. I'll figure something out for Lily, I said. But you and me? We're done. I walked out of the house, my heart heavy, my mind clouded with rage and sorrow. But I wasn't done yet. Lisa still had secrets. And I was going to uncover every single one. I drove away that night, but my mind refused to quiet down. The divorce papers were signed, the DNA test had confirmed my worst fear, and Lisa had been left sobbing in the wreckage of her own betrayal. But despite everything, I couldn't shake the one thought that kept gnawing at me. She wasn't mine biologically, but for 6 years, I had been the only father she knew. The one who tucked her in at night, who kissed her scraped knees, who held her close when she had nightmares. The idea of abandoning her made me sick. But how could I stay in her life when her entire existence was built on a lie? I parked in front of a motel, my hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I had nowhere else to go. My world had been ripped apart in a single night, and I was left sifting through the ruins. I checked into a room, sat on the bed, and stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours. Then, my phone buzzed. It was Lisa. 29 missed calls. 17 unread messages. Each one more desperate than the last. Please come home. We need to talk. I swear I can explain everything. Lily keeps asking for you. She doesn't understand why you're gone. Please don't do this to her. To us. I let out a bitter laugh. Us. There was no us anymore. I turned off my phone, but sleep never came that night. I kept replaying everything in my head. The lies. The betrayal. The years I had spent loving a woman who clearly never loved me back. And the biggest question of all, who was Lily's real father? I knew Lisa wouldn't tell me. Not willingly. But I wasn't walking away without answers. The next morning, I drove back to the house. Not for Lisa. For Lily. When I stepped inside, the smell of coffee and pancakes filled the air. For a split second, it felt like a normal morning. Like nothing had changed. Then Lisa walked into the kitchen, and the illusion shattered. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen from crying. The second she saw me, relief flooded her expression. Oh, thank God, she whispered, rushing toward me. I put up a hand, stopping her in her tracks. I'm not here for you. Her face crumbled. Before she could say another word, Lily came running into the room, her tiny feet slapping against the hardwood floor. Daddy! She cried, wrapping her arms around my legs. I froze. She had never called me anything else. To her, I was her father. Not by blood, but by love, by the thousands of moments we had shared. I knelt down, hugging her tightly. Hey, sweetheart. She pulled back, frowning. Why did you leave? Mommy said you were mad at her. I glanced at Lisa, who looked away. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I just needed some time to think. Are you staying? She asked, her eyes wide with hope. My heart cracked. I don't know, baby. She looked confused, but before she could ask anything else, Lisa spoke. Can we talk? Alone? I hesitated. I didn't want to be in the same room as her, but I needed answers. I nodded. We stepped into the living room, and I turned to face her. Who is Lily's real father? I demanded. Lisa flinched. I don't know. I clenched my fists. Don't lie to me. Tears welled in her eyes. I swear, I don't. It was a mistake. A mistake. I let out a bitter laugh. A mistake? You cheated on me for years, Lisa. Don't act like this was some one-time accident. She wiped at her eyes, her voice shaking. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. I scoffed. You didn't mean to sleep with multiple men behind my back? You didn't mean to have a child that wasn't mine and let me raise her as my own? She sobbed. I was scared. When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't know what to do. You were my husband, the man I loved, I snapped. Loved? Don't you dare use that word. She broke down, collapsing onto the couch. Please, I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling, I'll cut off everyone else, I held up the divorce papers. Sign these. Her face drained of color. This marriage is over, I said. You can keep your open relationship, Lisa. You just won't have me waiting at home while you do it. She shook her head violently. No. No, I won't let you do this. We have a family. I stepped closer, my voice ice cold. You destroyed this family the moment you decided to cheat. She was shaking now, her breaths coming in short gasps. What about Lily? I hesitated. That was the only thing keeping me tethered to this house. To this wreckage of a life. I turned toward the hallway, where Lily stood, clutching her teddy bear. Daddy? She whispered. I swallowed hard. No matter what, I couldn't abandon her. She didn't deserve this. I'm not leaving you, I promised. Lisa let out a sob, but I ignored her. My focus was on Lily. On the little girl I had spent 6 years loving. She wasn't mine. But she was still my daughter. And I would fight for her. The divorce was brutal. Lisa fought me every step of the way. She tried to manipulate me, tried to twist the story, even tried to make me. The divorce was brutal. Lisa fought me every step of the way. She tried to manipulate me, tried to twist the story, even tried to make me look like the bad guy. But I didn't back down. In the end, I got shared custody of Lily. Lisa didn't deserve to take her away from me. I moved into my own apartment, started rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. Some nights, the loneliness crushed me. Some nights, I still woke up thinking I was back in that house, next to the woman I once loved. But every time I saw Lily, I knew I made the right choice. She was my daughter in every way that mattered. One day, when she was old enough, I would tell her the truth. But for now, I would just be there for her. Lisa, on the other hand? She had lost everything. She got what she wanted, her so-called freedom. But in the end, she realized what she had thrown away. She begged me for another chance. Told me she made a mistake. But some betrayals can never be forgiven. I walked away. And this time, I never looked back.